Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Mrs. Ruiz, and on the previous video, this is video number 2, we were going over the regular verb conjugation, and we were studying the verb love. Okay, we were studying the present of love and the past of love. Okay, we were saying how would we use the verb love in the present, which is now, and in the past, okay, when it already has happened in the past. So we were saying that an easier way to know how to use these verbs for the verb love is to remember the hint words, which are, or the clue words, which are I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Okay? Those are the key to learning how to use the verb, the right way. Okay? So let's start. First we start with us. We will say I love. Let's say I love McDonald's. You love going to McDonald's. He or she loves going to McDonald's. We love going to McDonald's. They love going to McDonald's. Okay? That would be the correct way to use love. Okay? As you see, it only changes when you use he, she, or it. Then it changes to loves with an S, but everything else stays love. That's the only one that changes when you say he loves to go to McDonald's. She loves to go to McDonald's. Okay? And all the other ones stay the same. I love, you love, we love, you love, they love. Okay? Okay, now we want to know how to say love in the past tense, meaning it already happened or you already went to McDonald's. Let's say you already been to McDonald's. So you will say, since it was in the past that you used to go to McDonald's and you loved going to McDonald's, you would say I loved. In the past, I loved going to McDonald's. You loved going to McDonald's. He, she, it loved going to McDonald's. We loved going to McDonald's. You loved going to McDonald's. They loved going to McDonald's. So you simply just add a D at the end and it makes it past tense. Like just getting a D at the end, then you make it past tense. Okay? So I hope you're understanding the present and the past. Okay? Now let's use the word, the verb eat. Okay? Let's use the verb eat. You would say in present form, I eat. I eat. You eat. He, she eat. Eats. Remember, it changes when you use it with he, she, and it. It changes to eats with an S. Okay? We eat. You eat. They eat. So pretty much the verb doesn't change, the verb only changes when you use it with he, she, and it. Then it changes to eats with an S at the end. Okay? Now, if we want to use eat in the past tense, it would be, then it changes, right? A little bit. It would be I ate. Like I ate chicken last night. Because it was in the past. It was the day before. I ate chicken last night. You ate chicken last night. He, she, it, ate chicken last night. We ate chicken last night. You ate chicken last night. They ate chicken last night. So pretty much for the past tense, it stays the same. The verb stays the same. Ate. For each one, you will say ate. Ate. It doesn't change. It only in the present form of he, she, and it changes with an S. Okay. Now, if we want to talk about the word live, the verb live, okay? You would say in present form, I live here in the U.S. You live here in the U.S. He, she, it lives here in the U.S. You would add an S to he, she, or it. The verb has to have a S at the end. For we live in the United States. You live in the United States. They live in the United States. So it doesn't change. Okay, the only one that changes again is when you use he, she, and it. Now, past tense of live would be I lived. You just add a D to the end. I lived before in the United States. You lived before in the United States. He, she, it lived before in the United States. We lived before in the United States. You lived in the United States. They lived before in the United States. So basically you're just adding a D to the end of the word, of the verb. Okay? So very simple. I think in English the conjugation is very easy. It's easier than in Spanish. Because in Spanish it's a little bit different. I'm gonna review the Spanish with you now, because in my previous video I reviewed in Spanish, and you probably didn't understand anything that I said in Spanish. So I'm gonna go over what I reviewed in my previous video in Spanish. I was saying that the conjugation of regular verbs in Spanish consists of three endings. The first ending is AR, ER, and IR. And these are called terminación, which means termination in English. They end in AR, ER, or IR. Okay? And then to be able to know the termination of the verb, we have to know the infinitive, el infinito. Okay? Which would be the words before the termination, which is am, com, viv. Okay? Some examples of regular verbs would be amar, which means to love, jugar, which means to play, bailar, which means to dance, comer, which means to eat, beber, which means to drink, leer, which means to read, vivir, which means to live, escribir, which means to write, recibir, which means to receive. Now all these examples all end in either AR, ER, or IR. Okay? Okay. So how would we use, I'm going to use these three here as an example. Amar, comer, y vivir, okay? Love, eat, and live, okay? So it's basically the same thing. Main goal is to remember these. These are the key words. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotras. And then in Spanish we have vosotros, vosotras, ellos, ellas, ustedes, okay? If we know these keywords right here, we're able to use the proper verb. Okay? So in present tense, we would say, using the word amor, the verb amor, we would say yo amo, tú amas, that's I love, you love, tú amas, él, ella, usted ama, that would be he, she, it loves, nosotros, nosotras amamos, we would say amamos, vosotros, vosotras amáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes aman, we would say aman, okay? And that's basically the same thing that I said in English over here with the conjunction of love. It's basically the same, but the difference is that in Spanish, like the verbs kind of change a little bit on the, I mean, they don't stay the same as like in English, that they all basically are all love. How can I explain? Like, let me see, that on the present they was mostly all love except one, right? Except the he, she, it was with an S, but over in Spanish it's kind of like a little bit different. Okay, and then in the past tense we would say yo amaba, I used to love, yo amaba, tú amabas, we would add an S to that, él, ella, usted amaba, nosotros, nosotras amábamos, vosotros, vosotras amabas, ellos, ellas, ustedes amaban, okay? And then for the verb como, which means eat, we will say yo como, tú comes, él, ella, usted come, nosotros, nosotras comemos, okay? Vosotros, vosotros, vosotras coméis, ellos, ellas, ustedes comen, okay? And then in the past tense we will say yo comía, I used to eat, yo comía, tú comías, él, ella, usted comía, nosotros, nosotras comíamos, vosotros, vosotras comíais, ellos, ellas, ustedes comían, okay? And then for the verb vivir, for the verb vivir, which means to live, we will say the present would be yo vivo, tú vives, él, ella, usted vive, nosotros vivimos, vosotros vivís, ellos, ella, ustedes viven. Then in the past tense we will say yo vivía, I used to live in the United States. Tú vivías en los Estados Unidos. Él, ella, usted vivía en los Estados Unidos. Nosotros vivíamos en los Estados Unidos. Vosotros vivíais en los Estados Unidos. Ellos, ellas, ustedes vivían en los Estados Unidos. Okay? So it's just a little bit different, I mean, in Spanish, but basically it ends up to be the same thing. Like I said, the keywords are to remember: yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos. If you remember these keywords right here, and you understand what they're trying to, what they mean, you are able to pick the correct verb. Okay, guys, so you're welcome to watch this video as many